Hey guys, welcome to your weekend review for the WWE podcast. Ashley Mann is back after a 6-week absence. She is back. She joins the show for a 2-hour conversation as we cover Roman Reigns' heel turn, Sasha Banks and Bayley's breakup, Randy Orton losing some steam, Raw Underground, Retribution, looking ahead to Clash of Champions, Alexa Bliss's descent into madness, and so much more. Guys, this is a crazy good show. I think you're going to really love this one. So let's get everything started right after this. Are you in a position where you need to sell your home? Perhaps you're facing financial difficulties, or you're facing a foreclosure, a divorce, or maybe you're just relocating because of retirement. Maybe there are some other debt issues and you just need to sell your home. Well, here is a great solution for you. And that solution is Bright Realty Investment. They are a leading real estate solutions company, and their mission is to work hand in hand with all parties to handle every situation with the utmost professionalism and care. So if you're in a particularly stressful financial situation right now and you need to protect your credit, then don't waste another minute. Head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com. That's brightrealtyinvestment.com. And when you go to the website, there's a really easy form you fill out that's right at the top, and they'll get back to you immediately. So why wait? Don't let that divorce, that retirement, or other bad debt situation take control of your life. Take control back and head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com where they can buy your house, protect your credit, and get your life back on track. Again, head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, the most passionate and authentic wrestling analysis on the web. We've got you covered with every Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, giving you a no bullshit opinion. We know you love wrestling. We do too. So let's get this show underway.
And that's the bottom line. What? 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
All right, guys, welcome to the WWE podcast on this Sunday, September 20th, 2020. Hope y'all are doing well. And it's football Sunday, so second week here. I know it's not a football podcast, but I want to mention it. Many of you are football fans, and if you do fantasy, well, you're either hating your life or loving your life right now. Fantasy football is quite a consuming project if you get yourself involved, of which I am. And so today I'm loving my life, but that could change in the blink of an eye. So hope everyone's doing well, whether you're enjoying football, whether you're enjoying wrestling or outside or whatever you're doing. Hope you're enjoying your day, or you did enjoy your day or evening or weekend, and all is well. So first of all, I want to make an announcement. We are on YouTube, right? So we're on YouTube covering news items or things that just really irritate me or things I love that I cover in about 2 minutes. Around 2.5 minutes is my average video length, so no long commitments there. Head on over to youtube.com/the WWE podcast. Super easy, right? youtube.com/the WWE podcast. And you get to check us out. We're really upping our production and adding intros and trying to eventually get a nice backdrop. I know I'm kind of standing in front of like boxes at times, but that's because I'm moving, right? So I don't really have a nice place that I can have a nice backdrop and everything looks super, super nice. We'll get there, but I did want to dip my toe in. So please, if you listen to this show and you love YouTube and you want just quick things that you want to hear about and you're interested in, and you love wrestling and maybe you like the show, head on over to youtube.com/the WWE podcast and you get that. So if you guys are interested in doing your own podcast, right? Maybe you want to dip your toe in. You love SmackDown or you love AEW. Well, we're in the hunt for both. If you want to cover AEW and or SmackDown and you want your own show, all I ask is that you have a good quality mic. Doesn't have to be super professional or super expensive. Just a good quality mic, meaning not an internal mic on your laptop. And you love wrestling and you have some kind of previous audio experience. So please, if you're interested, email me at realwwepodcast@gmail.com, because right now we are looking for those interested in covering SmackDown and AEW Dynamite every Wednesday. It doesn't have to be the same person covering both. You could, but I did want to just put that out there. If you're interested in that, please let me know, and you can start really as soon as possible. But wanted to put that out there. Email the show at realwwepodcast@gmail.com. Speaking of which, if you want to leave a voicemail, you can do so at that email, or you can call the show at 518-952-0247, leave a voicemail. So, but we do have a question that's coming in from a listener, from Madeline. So Madeline, thanks so much for listening to the show. So here's what Madeline says. She says, "Hi, Matt. I have to preface this that I heard this idea from listening to another podcast, but I'm curious on your thoughts." Wait a minute. You listen to other shows? Wait a minute. No, I do too. Trust me, I do. And I've actually tried not to, by the way, because I want to, this is just me. I don't like to hijack other ideas from podcasts and present it to my listeners on the show as my own ideas. And back in when I first started this show many years ago, I actually was guilty of that. And I've stopped listening to other wrestling podcasts simply for the fact that it's not that I don't love them, and they're really good, and we all know who the big ones are out there. It's just that I like to use my own brain, because my brain, for its own faults, has a tendency to grab onto other people's ideas and then present them as my own. It's just a big fault of mine, and I get away from that. But, yeah, by all means, you listen to other podcasts, totally get it. Anyway, you asked, would you give WWE enough credit to have the hacker be a part of Retribution to explain all the lights flickering, cutaway promos, Thunderdome hacking? That would make absolute sense, absolutely no sense otherwise. Or do you think that idea is just buried at this point? Madeline from Connecticut, or Mimi, as you like to be called, Mimi from Connecticut. So here's what I think, and this is addressed a little bit later in the show with Ashley. I don't think the hacker is involved. To me, it makes no sense, because the hacker's motive was not the same motive that Retribution has. The same motive that Retribution has, they want destruction in WWE. They think it's an evil organization, that it's corrupt, and that everyone involved is corrupt. Clearly, they are playing on the real life scenario of everyone in government is corrupt, except WWE represents the government. I don't think the hacker was there for that purpose. The hacker was there to display the truth, to reveal the truth. It's not the same as bring destruction to WWE and everyone in it. The hacker was kind of behind the scenes. He also wasn't dressed like Retribution. He had a hoodie on. He wasn't dressed in all black. I would be very surprised if the hacker was involved. That being said, I also really miss the hacker. The hacker was, to me, more interesting than Retribution is. So you'll get a much more thorough explanation on this and a rant a bit from Ashley and myself a bit later in the show. But thanks so much for the question, Mimi, and feel free to ask again. And anyone else who wants questions, please feel free to email the show. Alrighty. Well, I think it's time to get to it. Let's get to Ashley and myself. This is probably the longest show we've had in many, 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 many weeks. As I was on vacation, some of my co-hosts have been on vacation. Life happens. Other things. It's just trying to get your feet back and get back into a schedule. And this is the longest show I've had, and honestly, the first guest I've had in quite a while too. So that'll be changing as more and more co-hosts come on. I've already got some scheduled for this upcoming week and beyond. So look out for that. Also, check out the Botch Guy on YouTube. Got to plug him. Great guy, fun guy, really fun to watch and listen to on YouTube. So check him out. Alrighty, guys, it's time to move on. Let's get to Ashley and myself, and we talk about everything. I mean, my God, it felt like we talked about everything. I hope we did. So enjoy it, guys. And as always, I'll be talking to you soon. All right, welcome to the WWE podcast, and I am very excited to bring back Ashley Mann to the show. It feels like it has been much, much, much too long. It feels like it's been months, and it might very well be close to that after a crazy summer and vacations and everything else going on. And I am really excited to have Ashley back. There is a boatload of stuff that I want to get to. Roman Reigns heel turn, Sasha and Bayley breaking up, among a ton of other stuff, including the Raw Retribution, Raw Underground, everything else, Drew McIntyre, Orton. We're going to get to it all. And Ashley, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited to have you here.
I am so excited to be back. Thank you, Matt, for having me. And yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, like, I think wrestling is kind of like dog years, right? Like a month is like a year, it feels like sometimes. So like it's just from the time that we've talked, like so much has happened on every show. It's just crazy. So yeah, like you said, we definitely have a lot to get into tonight.
So much. There's just, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, even in our normal, when we were on our like normal 3-week rotations or whatever, that felt like forever. But now you double that, and
Yeah.
it's insane. But first and foremost, I mean, I gotta ask, since we haven't spoke last since the WWE was in the Performance Center, which feels like they've been here for 8 years, and they finally moved to the Amway Center and they do the Thunderdome. I gotta ask, what do you think about the Thunderdome? Do you like it better than the Performance Center with actual fans there? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely like it better than the Performance Center. I mean, it was kind of a shock at first because it's just so weird. But I think honestly, like for watching like the NBA and how it was set up for them, kind of like lessened the blow. But I mean, for what it's worth and for what options they had and the resources they had, I'm digging it so far. I mean, could it be better and could things be tweaked? Of course, everything could be tweaked. But I think for now, I'm just thankful for what we have. And the arena itself, I think just the whole vibe, the space, the look, the feel, besides like the fan aspect. I think everything like with the fireworks, the pyro and all that stuff, I think that itself helps the atmosphere as well from what you were missing in the Performance Center, not just not having the audience there, but all the other little or big things that you miss too, like the wider camera angles, the entrance itself, like it kind of like for instance on SmackDown, like it gives you that feeling of the premiere, like when Friday night SmackDown debuted on Fox, like that, how with the new set, like that shock with that feel, like you kind of get that vibe. So I'm happy with it for now. I'm curious to see what they do once their contract is up with Amway, though, if they just renew it or if they go to a different venue to kind of like freshen things up or what they end up doing. But so far, so good.
I'm with you. I think being in the Performance Center, they maximized that place to their absolute best. They squeezed all the juice out of that orange, and I give them props to do it. I think we've seen every angle that exists in the Performance Center, and now that they moved to the Amway Center, I think, look, it obviously could be better. It's things out of WWE's control, but they are doing everything that they can to make it feel as normal as they can. Bringing fans back virtually, yes, that certainly raises liability concerns with WWE, as many fans have, not many, a couple of fans have been the rotten apples of the bunch and doing some really, really bad stuff with the video feed that WWE has had to apologize for. But unfortunately, you kind of expect something like that, given the big risk that they're taking doing live feeds from people's homes of who knows what they're doing. But I really enjoy it more than I do with the fans there. Granted, there's no voice. The fans don't have a voice. They're piping in noise to the most realistic ability they can, and they got to do what they got to do. But you can't give fans a voice doing live feed and audio. It just, the logistics of that and the liability of that is even exponentially higher. So I'm fine with what they're doing. I would continue with it. I don't know what they're going to do after, reportedly, I think October 31st, I think Halloween is their expiration, from what I understand, of being in the Amway Center, whether they renew it or I've heard rumblings of an outdoor venue with limited actual fans. It's going to be interesting, and I'm sure that depending on the infection rate in Florida or wherever they want to go is certainly going to dictate what they do and where they go and how they proceed after October 31st. But I'm with you. I think it's much better than where we were just a couple of months ago in the Performance Center, or even when they first started with nobody there and just constant empty seats on the camera, which was just a reminder every second we were watching that this is the real world exists beyond your fantasy land. So I have to ask, though, to me the biggest thing on my mind is what we talked about before, which is Roman Reigns turning heel. I mean, it happened. Unbelievably, it happened at SummerSlam, and no, we didn't talk before or after SummerSlam for sure. So I had said on one of my shows, I'm not tooting my own horn, I just kind of read the tea leaves with WWE. Not that I predicted a Roman Reigns heel turn, but when WWE for SummerSlam put their slogan, as they're doing for everything now, of adding a little extra to everything, even Raw, they're saying in your face Raw, like whatever the hell that was. There's no difference of a Raw. Like there was nothing different about an in your face Raw. We'll get to that. But they put on SummerSlam, you'll never see it coming. And I said, that's bigger than what Randy Orton's RKO means. And yeah, Randy said it. I said it's bigger. There's something coming. And I thought it was actually Brock Lesnar who's going to return. But kudos to WWE for really kind of incognito putting it in there like you'll never see it coming. You'll never see it coming. A Roman Reigns heel turn. And lo and behold, we got it. So I'm going to toss it to you. Did you see it coming? Number one. And number two, how do you rate it so far from SummerSlam till now?
No, I never saw it coming. So they definitely got me, and that's fun, right? That's so refreshing. Like, when is the last time you can actually say like WWE got you? Like they actually got you, and on something that you never saw coming. It was because with Roman Reigns, it was one of those things, especially after he came back, from his battle with everything. That was like a for sure for a lot of people. Like, okay, like yeah, he's especially now, like he's never gonna be a bad guy, right? So to see him return, even just the return, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, he's back. But once I saw him go after both the Fiend and Strowman, and the look on his face and just the intensity and just like the little things that he was saying, like, you wouldn't be here without me, like, and just like the little comments, I was like, it can't be. It can't be. They wouldn't actually do it, right? And then sure enough, like with Heyman and just the whole look, he's a champion now, like just the edge to him, it's so refreshing, and it makes you excited for SmackDown, like for the whole show itself, like it just breathed life into that show. To me at least, it's amazing how one change like that with one character can just have just a tumbleweed effect and just like affect so many different other characters, either directly or indirectly. Because look what's happening at Clash of Champions. Like, Jey Uso's getting a shot at the championship, and last month he wasn't even on TV. I think the last thing he did was the karaoke segment on SmackDown, right? I'm pretty sure that was the last time we saw him, because his brother's been injured. But it's just, I'm so here for it. I think overall I'd give it like a B right now, just because I want them to go full-fledged with it. And I think we will see that after Sunday or during the match on Sunday. I think this is going to be the opportunity for him to either completely, and that's the thing too, as I sit here and about to say, like, just completely demolish Uso. It could be a swerve in and of itself, right? Because a lot of people have either been talking about or wanting like a bloodline faction, right, with him, the Usos, and then Paul, kind of having like that little stable. But depending on which direction they want to go with it long term, if they just want it to be Roman and Heyman as like a package, or if they want to make it an actual faction, it obviously would determine a lot of things. But I'm in the camp where I just want to see him destroy Uso on Sunday. I just want to see it, because that's what we need. That's what Roman needs. He needs that edge, that like, wow, like he would do that to his own flesh and blood. Because just think of the story packages that we can get, all the pictures and the videos that we can see of them as children, and just how close they were with the family being in the business, and just I can hear the Heyman promos now. So I'm so excited for it. I never saw it coming. And it's amazing to see, like, how I don't know if Vince just said, screw it and just gave up, or what the mindset behind actually pulling the trigger on it now was. So I'm curious to see how it ends up playing out, and how long term it's going to be. So yeah, we'll see.
This
it's
is
just so many things.
So much, and I really don't have a negative thing to say about this yet, and I don't anticipate it to happen for quite a while. Mm-hmm. I feel like, are doing a very slow burn with this. I hope that in the 6 months that Roman's been gone, or whatever it's been, that this wasn't a last second decision, and that they were thinking, well, Brock's gone, and let's pair Heyman and Roman together. I hope that this has been something that, at least for the last 4 months, they've been going, hey, look at this. Like, let's plan this out. This is the biggest thing we've done in a very long time. Fans have been complaining about it not happening. Heyman's available, as Brock Lesnar is doing whatever he's doing, whether he's sitting on his farm in Minnesota or Montana, or he's training for UFC, or whatever the heck he's doing. Paul Heyman's still here. Why not pair him together with Roman Reigns, who has had trouble on the mic? And Heyman is a heat magnet, and he can play a crowd the way he wants to. He knows how to work an audience. So if they're concerned about Roman failing on the mic, and that it'll fail because Roman is not very strong on the mic, well, you've taken care of that with Paul Heyman. And Roman does what he does best, and that's speak loudest in the ring. I am so excited about this, and I have heard rumblings about the whole faction with the bloodline, and yeah, that would be awesome in some respects, because Roman would have the guys that do his dirty work, and he just comes in and does as little work as possible and gets the victory. I mean, but he's already doing that now. So that to me is plan B, and it's not a bad plan at all. But I think is exactly what you said is going to happen, and is to me plan A. Roman Reigns should absolutely decimate, even bloody Jey Uso. Like, he needs to put him in a hospital, in the back of an ambulance, send him to the hospital as Roman Reigns just kind of stares down and just smiles at what he's done. Because they are setting up for that. To me, they're setting up for not necessarily a faction with all the photos and all the video and all of their history as kids. There's a lot of history being pulled here, which tells you they're trying to lay the foundation for what Roman does next Sunday is even more dastardly, is even more evil of what he has done to family. So I am with you. To me, this ends in Roman Reigns adding that next layer, taking that next step into having a mean streak. Not just coming in when it's convenient and doing the least amount of work possible, which now we've seen is what he does, and he's being managed by Paul Heyman, who's calling him the Tribal Chief, and they've rebranded him there. But they are truly making him now see the mean streak in him. And I'm really excited to see that. I guess the other rumor going around is, do you think that this could ultimately, with this whole family story, end in The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? Like, there's a lot of speculation there. If he continues to beat down Jay, then maybe beats down Jimmy. I mean, there's things that they could progress down into WrestleMania 37 next year. What do you think?
I mean, of course I would love to see The Rock back, right? And involved in wrestling, because it's The Rock. Like, how can you say no to The Rock? So, of course, like, short answer, yeah, I'd love to see, and just to see what it would look like, right? And just to see how the whole thing would play out. I obviously would be intrigued, but I think you need to let Roman do his own thing. I think you just need to let him build his own character and build his own legacy, and especially in this new role. Like, I think that it's already established, or it should be after this Sunday for sure. Like, he is the top heel. He's the top champion of the company. Like, he doesn't need I'm not going to say he doesn't need The Rock, because of course to get that spotlight with The Rock and the media and everything like that, of course it would do nothing but help. But I feel like it would kind of muddy the waters a bit, because of course they're going to boo Roman and cheer, everyone's going to boo Roman and cheer The Rock. Like, that's just I just feel like it's kind of the easy and cheap way out now. I don't know. I want to see Roman go to WrestleMania as champion in a different direction. I kind of don't want to see, if The Rock is going to come back, like, have him involved in something else. I don't even know what that would be at this point. But if they booked it, would I hate it? Of course not. But, like, I wouldn't sit here and wish for it either, though, as weird as that sounds, because, like, probably a couple months ago I'd be like, yeah, because then I'd be hopeful that it would maybe lead to a Roman heel turn. But now that we've kind of seen it and it's happened and it's continuing to progress, like that slow burn, like you said, I kind of just want him to be able to enjoy this success that he's going to get from this on his own, and not have to have, like, that asterisk right there, like, oh yeah, well, WrestleMania 37 or whatever, it was him versus The Rock, and like that was, because what is he gonna do? Like, is he gonna beat The Rock? Then okay, like, of course he's gonna beat The Rock. Or if he doesn't and The Rock beats him, then, like, everyone, like, how is that gonna come off? And that's pretty much the same thing that happened with Rock and Cena. So it's just like, and Punk, it's just like, it just kind of complicates things, I feel like. Don't you think? Or what do you think? Am I just completely crazy and should be just, like, clamoring for The Rock and Roman?
So it's interesting that you're kind of talking me out of wanting to see this match. I mean, again,
And I'm sorry.
no, because I need to look at this realistically, and we're also talking about something that is not even close to happening, right? I mean, but The Rock has said that, I think it was in an interview a number of months ago, that if the conditions are right, he'd consider it with Roman Reigns. I mean, so it's not that he's closed the book on it. There's a lot of ifs, right? And this is also, what if WrestleMania 37 is in Amway Center again, or in Performance Center? I mean, like, and there's still no fans, and the COVID-19, I mean, there's so many things, like, who the hell knows what this place in this world is going to look like in April of 2021. So assuming fans are back, assuming we can have a normal life again in some capacity, and there's actual live human beings in an arena that are not NXT trainees and are true wrestling fans, then maybe I'm a little bit more apt to seeing The Rock versus Roman Reigns, because I'd love to hear the crowd reaction for that. I hear what you're saying, though, that Roman needs to carve his own path. Roman needs his own identity. He doesn't need to be living off of the Attitude Era star of The Rock, and he needs to forge his own path. I understand that completely, and to some degree I agree. I think ultimately, though, if Roman Reigns ends up bloodying another family member, say he's just on a mean streak through December, at the Rumble he is just absolutely on fire and just beating people down to a pulp, and finally you hear, if you smell, I mean, regardless of what we say now, I think if that had happened and these two come face to face, we're going to go, okay, I'm in. I mean,
for sure.
I think
100%.
if that moment happened, we go, okay, yeah, you've sold me, let's do this. I would also think that it's going to matter what the outcome of that match is. It wouldn't matter, well, who goes over. To me, Roman Reigns should go over, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but I love heels. I love hot heels, sometimes more than hot baby faces, because baby faces are built from those hot heels, and sometimes people don't get that. Like, you can't have a hot baby face without a heel. And a really good heel. And Roman Reigns is going to be, I think, a great heel. And I think he should be heel for a couple of years minimum. But with Rock there, I think he should do the favors. If it does happen, maybe he cheats to win, and that's how it ends, and people are losing their minds, and maybe there's a rematch down the line. But again, if this doesn't happen, and this is just a normal WrestleMania where he faces, I don't know, Drew McIntyre, right? Maybe there's a shakeup and Drew is on the roster and they end up face to face. That could be interesting too. But as I kind of transition a little bit here into Drew and his whole Keith Lee interaction this week, and also Retribution, boy, there's a lot I just said there. I mean, because there's so much happening with Orton, with Keith Lee, with Drew McIntyre, and now Retribution. I mean, I don't even know which kind of area to pick, because all of these storylines are kind of interwoven. I'll leave it to you. What do you want to talk about first? Because we have Keith Lee, who has gotten absolutely blown to the top, gave Randy Orton his first loss in I don't know how long, which I really didn't like. And I know what they're trying to do, but I really, really didn't like that. And then we have Retribution. So I'll toss it to you, Ashley. You take your pick on this one, because there's a lot of avenues to go.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start with Keith Lee. It's like, I'm not completely disappointed, because things could be going a lot worse with his call-up, and we've seen NXT call-ups go a lot worse. So it hasn't been a complete fail, obviously. But I'm just not as excited as I thought I would be, and I don't really know why right now. I think going into the match with him versus Randy, I was excited to see how it played out, but then, I don't know, something happened after that match where ever since then I just haven't really been as excited to see what's going to end up happening with Keith Lee. So I'm just kind of taking like a wait and see approach on that, and I'm not down on it. I'm just like, I don't know, there's just something like missing, like a spark or something. Like, just, I don't know, there's just something weird for me personally that's just not clicking right now with Keith Lee on the main roster. But Retribution, again, I feel like I said this last time, like Retribution and Raw Underground to me kind of tie in together, or just, I guess, share a same feeling, and I still don't know like what the point is. And I guess Retribution, we do have some more answers now. We have heard them speak So we are getting a little more progress. It's just it's funny now that they have like, their own like music and like, their logo and everything. It's just it's cute, right? Like these people are coming in and destroying your property, but like we see their logo everywhere. I don't know. It's one of those things where like WWE is doing so well with Roman on one hand, right? But then like they just do like crazy things in the other. It's just like why can't we just balance? But I don't know. Like I'm not Retribution. I'm just kind of over it. They don't feel like a big deal to me. I'm ready to get to the point more so with Retribution than I am with Raw Underground. Raw Underground just feel like is like completely in a different world. It feels like, so it's just kind of doing its own thing. Yes, I still have questions for that, but not as pressing as Retribution, just because they've been involved in so many different storylines and angles, and now with the Hurt Business getting involved, which is weird that they would come out and defend Raw since they're like the heel faction, but I don't really know. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like with Retribution, it's going to lead to Survivor Series, and instead of being like a brand versus brand thing, it'll be like Retribution versus whatever 5 wrestlers they end up choosing, which will probably be like Keith Lee, Drew McIntyre, since they did their dive, maybe Randy Orton, just to like give them that, oh, well, that tagline, like, can they get along to finish the match or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
You're listening to the WWE Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Are you in a position where you need to sell your home? Perhaps you're facing financial difficulties, or you're facing a foreclosure, a divorce, or maybe you're just relocating because of retirement. Maybe there are some other debt issues and you just need to sell your home. Well, here is a great solution for you. And that solution is Bright Realty Investment. They are a leading real estate solutions company, and their mission is to work hand in hand with all parties to handle every situation with the utmost professionalism and care. So if you're in a particularly stressful financial situation right now and you need to protect your credit, then don't waste another minute. Head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com. That's brightrealtyinvestment.com. And when you go to the website, there's a really easy form you fill out. It's right at the top, and they'll get back to you immediately. So why wait? Don't let that divorce, that retirement, or other bad debt situation take control of your life. Take control back and head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com, where they can buy your house, protect your credit, and get your life back on track. Again, head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
Well, I know you did, and you said what everyone else is thinking is, I don't know, right? Because with Retribution, I don't know if I enjoy this storyline.
And I want to. Like, I really want to.
I do too. I'm really trying. And it's like dating somebody. You shouldn't have to try to like them. You should just like them. Like, if you have to consciously go, okay, I like this about them, I like that about them, then you're probably not with the right person, like, because it just should be it's like chemistry. You can't explain it. So it's kind of the same thing here. I'm really trying to like this, and I'm not super down on it either. I'm not going to crap all over it and, oh, this is the worst thing ever. It's not the worst thing ever. I just, like, after 7 weeks of this, you'd think we'd have more answers than we do, and it's not a case of, oh, you leave viewers with more questions, that's what you want, but you leave them with more questions. After a while, they're not even going to ask them anymore because they don't care anymore. Like, it's getting to a point of like I actually sigh when I see the lights flicker. I'm like,
right.
Like, I don't want that.
It's the same thing now.
Yeah.
It's the same thing every week.
And what's even more, like, just unplausible is the fact that we're still supposed to believe in WWE pushing the narrative that they're not supposed to be there, that they're this group that is trying to be banned from the building, that we don't know who they are, they're rebels, they can't be here. Well, if they're not supposed to be here, then Adam Pearce needs to get his crack security team of like 4 local wrestlers, which is what they are, and really up it. I mean, and furthermore, and I've said this before, and those that are listening have heard me say it, but it's the ultimate point of this storyline, if they are truly not supposed to be there, not only are the production truck giving them airtime with a camera that we don't know where they got and apparently they have a live feed to, but also, if they're going to give a surprise attack somebody, then either Retribution has a light switch that is just universal that they're able to flick on and off every time to warn the people in the ring that they're going to give them, they're about to surprise attack them. It's the worst possible way to surprise your opponent by telling them you're going to surprise them. How do they have access to these lights? Do they have somebody in the production truck do this? Like, I know I'm nitpicking, but it's just preposterous that we're still supposed to believe that WWE doesn't want them there when they're getting airtime. Nobody's coming out to scatter them from the ring ever, other than the Hurt Business this past week. It's getting a little bit like eye-rolling, and I don't hate it as much as I'm kind of crapping on the logic of it. I still don't hate it. I'm still willing to give it a chance, but my patience is wearing thin very quickly on Retribution.
Right, and real quick before we move on, to me, like, and of course, right, hindsight is 20/20 with everything, but the way for this type of angle and with this mindset of retribution, the idea and the whole meaning of the word retribution, to me, the way they should have played it out is literally do a copy and paste from their own storyline. Go back, I forget how many years, to the Matt Hardy, Edge, Lita.
Yes.
Whole love triangle where Matt was fired. Everyone knew he was fired. He broke into the building, and to the point where it was never acknowledged on TV. It was cut away. He was taken out by actual like police officers and security guards, like actual people who looked like they were specifically like actually hired, like legit for that role. They never mentioned it on TV until the point where it got to be so overwhelming, and there was just that impression where Matt just would not stop breaking into the buildings, where Vince had to bring him back and literally go on air and say, we hire, make up whatever story you want. And you can even still do it without having the actual identity of these people known. Just go with that same formula. Just have whoever, Adam Pearce, if you want him to be the authority figure right now, have him come out to the ring, be like, say whatever you want, have whatever you want him to say. Get him to actually bring them out and just get the mission statement, or maybe not do it exactly like that, but that idea, like have an authority figure, or since Adam Pearce is on TV like every week now anyway, have him just confront it directly and not just go an opposite way where like, oh yeah, these people are crazy, they're breaking our windows, but yet we have like music for them, we're going to show their logo, like they still continue to take over the lights. Like how? Like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
And this is exactly right. That kind of stuff is overshadowing any message that they're sending me.
And just basic common sense. Like, you're not going to get into the same building. I would not be able to break into the same Walmart, for instance, every week. They're going to know. They're going to know my face. They're going to know I show up in all black. Like, they're going to know. I'm not going to make it in the building the second week. There's no way. Like, come on.
No. Like, WWE is showing they have the worst security team of all time. I mean, right. I just...
That area sucks. Like, don't be anywhere in that area. Like, car accidents happen. Like, people, it's just crazy over there.
It's insane. And no, I was there. I mean, I've been there for the Raw, or what was it, WrestleMania 33 Hall of Fame. I was in the Amway Center. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, it's a big building. And yeah, I mean, I understand, maybe they're getting in some way, this way, that way. Fine. Assume they can sneak in every week. They find a new entrance. Well, how are they getting access to the production truck? And like there's so many things that just don't make sense. And I know Vince is like, oh, you're looking into it. Just enjoy it. It's your entertainment. Well, when your brain is going, hey, alarm, this makes no sense, and it's just beyond the remove your brain type of reality, like, well, I can't enjoy it. Like, when the method of your message is greater than your actual message, and then your message gets lost in translation. Like, I know what they're here for. I get it. They gave us a little bit of WWE is basically a poison, and that it's a system that tosses people aside. Okay, fine. I actually could have gotten that from the very first time that somebody spray painted the WWE logo in one of their first attacks and put a strike through it. Like, okay, I got it. I know what your message is. Like, you didn't need to tell me that. I mean, it's like they just came up with an angle, and we're like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have them attack the fans, which are really NXT trainees. They're going to attack the announcers. They're going to attack the production team. They're going to use a chainsaw to rip through the ring ropes. And it's like, okay, and I remember saying, you've got my attention, let's see where they go. And it's like on week 2, they're looking out at a production meeting, and they're like, all right, guys, where are we going? Like, I don't know where you want to go. It's almost like they just came up with the initial idea with no destination. That's what this feels like, because it's been the same thing over and over. It's been the kind of a blob of people one week, and then there's like a defined group the next week. They haven't come up with like a set 5 people, which is what I want. Like, who's the leader? It's just an amoeba that just keeps changing shape of this undefined number of people. I don't want that. If this is going to be a group, make it a defined group of people. And they haven't even done that. And I thought they did a couple of weeks ago on Raw when it ended with like the 5 people with one big guy and I know a couple of women in the group, which is cool that men and women are in the same group. I can't remember the last time that's happened.
Right.
And so there are some good things to this, and then they go back to this big, just undefined blob of people, and that's what I don't like either. But all right.
Yeah, and really quick, one final just question for you. Do you think the hacker has anything to do with this, or do you think they just completely dropped off the face of the earth?
I thought about, or I didn't think about it. I heard about people speculating about the hacker being somewhat involved with with Retribution. They could. I like the hacker actually better, even though it was like a couple of times. Yeah. I actually enjoyed the hacker infinitely more than I have Retribution. Sure. He was not dressed the same way that Retribution is. I don't think that he had the same mission that that Retribution has. He was just trying to expose the truth about people. He wasn't on a mission to destroy the company. So I'll say no. It's kind of like, I think with the hacker, they don't even know where to go with that. They just come up with these ideas and have no follow through. And that's what the Retribution feels like. So my answer is probably no. But Keith Lee, I wanted to give my 2 cents on Keith Lee as we're on this. I'm a big Keith Lee fan. I liked his work in NXT. People were complaining about his debut and all that, and his music and his attire. And I think all of that's changeable. So all these things that you can change, whether it's, again, attire, music, changeable. What you can't change is what happened. Like debuting against Randy Orton and then beating Randy Orton in the payback match. I really didn't like that. I know they're trying to make a statement. I understand that. They're all about making statements, sending messages. We all know the cliches. I get it. But to blow the heat off Randy Orton, who has been doing a masterful job over the last 6 months, along with all the production and creative, they've all done a great job. To have Keith Lee be the one to beat Randy Orton in a match where Randy Orton has not had a finisher applied and lost a match in 6+ months or more, that was Edge's to have. That was not Keith Lee's. I just don't understand the logic behind Keith Lee getting that victory. And you may say, well, it's because they wanted to, make a big first impression with Keith Lee. They could have done that without him beating Randy Orton. To me, Randy Orton being a hot heel and how great they've done supersedes Keith Lee's debut in so many ways. But I don't know. Maybe you're different, and that's fine. But what did you think about Keith Lee beating Randy Orton at Payback?
It was one of those things where I just wish they didn't book it to begin with, right? Like, I didn't want Randy Orton to lose, and I didn't want Keith Lee to be caught up and lose. So it was just like a lose-lose to me. I don't know. I'm torn, but I think if I had to make like a definite decision, I would be okay with Keith Lee beating Randy Orton, just for the sense that Randy Orton has been so strong lately, and he obviously can just rebuild himself so quickly. Yes, it does take that steam and like everything that he's been building off a little bit, and kind of cool him down a little, and especially with like the follow up after that as well. I definitely don't think, and like for instance, like with Drew getting all the claymores on Randy, I just don't think that Randy should be getting as attacked and beaten down as much as he has been lately. I feel like, especially if I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but if he were to end up becoming the champion, I just feel like he's been getting attacked and beat down, just hurt way too much to either end up becoming the champion, or if he loses again to Drew, then then what? And when Edge ends up returning, like, okay, well, you've already beaten down Randy all this time. Like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like they're maybe not knowingly, deliberately, but like just creating this conflict and just this mess when it really didn't need to be this complicated. Like, you just need to keep building Randy strong. And I personally think, as much as I wanted Drew to become champion, I think he's done fine in the role that he's been in. And I feel so bad for him, of course, with a ton of other people as well, but especially him, not getting that moment with the fans and the run and everything. But I just feel like Randy Orton needed to be the champion. But yeah, I don't know. And then what do you end up doing with Keith Lee after this? What does he end up doing? Does he feud maybe with Hurt Business and go after like the U.S. title? That could kind of be cool. It may be an interesting feud and storyline, but I don't know. I wasn't thrilled with it though either. I agree with you, but I agree with you almost 100%, but I'm not as against Keith Lee winning as you are.
And I think I need to with Keith, it's not really about Keith Lee. Like, it could have been anybody. Anybody could have come in and done this. The thing is also, there was really no backstory to these two. It was just kind of like, okay, they met on Raw, I think the week before, and then they just happened to have a rematch at Payback.
And that's why I'm like, it didn't need to happen to begin with.
No. No, but I know that they wanted to send the message to fans that this is a big-time player. He's going to be a main event player. We all know that to begin with. He doesn't need to take out the top heel in a really no-build match on a pay-per-view where that victory belongs to Edge. It does not belong to anyone other than Edge, and it's not anything against Keith Lee. It could have been anyone. That's my point is I didn't want him to get beat by anyone until Edge's return, which should be in the next few months, assumingly. So that's the problem I had with it. And yeah, the Claymore kicks, I understand that it was payback from Randy Orton kicking him in the head 3 times, of which somehow kicking someone in the skull results in a fractured jaw that doesn't require a wiring your jaw shut. I mean, I don't want to get into the medical impossibility of some of these things, and they're just afraid to say concussion, I think, given all the concussion issues out there lately. So they're going with the next best thing in their mind, which is a fractured jaw. So if you kick me in the forehead or in the top of the head 3 times, it just causes a fractured jaw. No concussion.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's just
apparent.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but I understand what they were doing. It's tit for tat. He gives 3 claymores. Randy hit him with the 3 punts. So there we go. Now again, in a normal program, fine. I get it. Like that's fair play. And let's see what the blow off is. And as much as I love Drew, it all comes down to we don't get this hot of a heel very often. And a heel that is so skilled in the ring at the top of his game that often. This comes around like every 5 to 10 years. I'm serious. Like, this does not happen that often. And I am willing as a fan, and maybe I'm just more patient than most fans. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just, I guess, more patient and willing to wait and build and build and build heat. And having that heat get blown off with the 3 claymores, it made me happy to see Randy get some of what's coming to him, but I also still enjoy more the delayed gratification of waiting to see Randy Orton get surrounded by all the people he's kicked in the head, whether it's Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Big Show, Edge, obviously himself. I mean, Christian, yeah. I mean, go down the list. All these people surround him, and Randy Orton finally gets what's coming to him. And I don't see, to me, the ultimate payoff should be having Randy Orton get literally bloodied. I mean, I don't care if it's PG. He needs to get bloodied and just beaten to an absolute pulp and sent in an ambulance to a hospital and not seen for like a month. I mean, that to me is how this whole thing should end, was Edge getting a spear and beating him into oblivion after everyone else gets a piece of him in a bloody mess. Like, that is to me it. If this ends in like a straight up wrestling match, I'm going to be very sad. Given what Edge said before he left, that the Rated R superstar has now returned. Like, he has said that that part of him is being brought out because of what Randy has done. So, I don't know. I guess I'm going off on a tangent about Randy Orton being a heel, but that's the problem I have with it, is that victory, that retribution, no pun intended, belonged to Edge.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see them end up in like a TLC type match, as like their final blow off, or something like that. No, but I agree with you 100%. It's just, I wish they would have kind of protected Randy a little bit more, which is crazy, because I would have never, like, it's it's crazy to think that you need to say something like that because Randy it's Randy, right? So you would think that he is like one of the last people who needs protection, but just like you said, like just with how hot of a heel he had been, and he still is, he still is of course the top heel, but on Raw, but it's just, man, like he could be so much more right now. I feel like if they kind of would have just protected him a little bit more.
Agreed. I mean, all right, I think I've beaten this into the ground. Let's move on to something else big, really big, that's happened, and that's Bayley and Sasha's breakup. I'm going to pause, and this is your turn. Go ahead. What do you think about it so far?
Yeah, it's weird, right? So it was one of those things that I was kind of like, wow, they're really gonna drag it out. Like maybe they'll drag it out to like Royal Rumble before they actually pull the trigger on the split. And then I felt like for me it just happened out of nowhere. Like Bayley just snapped and and just turned on Sasha. I was not thrilled with how quickly they brought Sasha back. I feel like with the type of beatdown that she took, I mean of course like she was obviously still injured, but I just feel like maybe they could have held out a little bit longer. A lot of people were saying Royal Rumble. I was never under the impression that they would keep her out that long. Just because with how limited they are right now, especially maybe in like a normal world, maybe. But with how things are right now, like I just don't think it would be really an option. So I was thinking at least maybe until like Survivor Series. And she would either interfere in Bayley's match there or just, make it her return there after match or something to that effect. But I don't know, like I feel like I'm happy with, I feel like it's going to be another slow burn, right? I feel like in a weird way, we may not see their first match until maybe WrestleMania, Royal Rumble WrestleMania, as I kind of feel like I'm contradicting myself, but I see them kind of dragging this out because I feel like if they were bringing Sasha back, I just feel like they would have had direct contact and it would have played out a lot differently than it did. But I'm excited that it was Bayley that ended up pulling the trigger. I was surprised by that. I kind of thought it was going to be Sasha turning on Bayley. Or just realizing what Bayley had been doing and just kind of being presented that way, like she was just standing up for herself, and not in like a heelish way. But I'm happy that they're clearly behind Bayley as a strong heel character still, and having her be the aggressor and her obviously being the one that went after Sasha and kind of having her take lead of it and just kind of just not having Sasha being the one and just having Sasha in chase mode this time, because I think that's where Sasha shines. But yeah, and I think this has a possibility of dragging out for probably the next year, because I feel like even if once they do have their first one-on-one match, if Sasha does win and become the champion, I feel like that next story can be Bayley saying, okay, well, yeah, you beat me, but you can never defend your title successfully. And then that can be the whole build to that next rematch because, yeah, it's facts. Like, Sasha can't defend the title one-on-one successfully. So, and then that could be that next title defense, and for her to successfully retain, that could be one of the biggest moments probably in her career if they build it up correctly, because that could be in Sasha's career and Sasha's story on the main roster. That could be more significant than her becoming the champion for the first time, because yeah, she's won it however many times now, but she's never been able to keep it really. So I'm just excited to see how long term it plays out, and I just hope that they take care of this because they've put so much into it and so much time into this story, whereas you never really see this much like substance and this much patience with a storyline in WWE lately. So I'm hopeful. I'm a little nervous with how quickly they brought Sasha back, but I'm still remaining hopeful for this one.
You could argue that this is like maybe inarguably that one of the top 3 storylines in WWE. Maybe even number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe number 2. Yeah, I mean this is a big deal.
So.
Easily the biggest thing in the women's division going on by far is this angle, and this is the Bayley that I envisioned when she was still side ponytailing it and finally had a public execution of the Bayley buddies. I said, okay, here we go. finally. And they, again, we all know the story. They kind of backed off. She didn't really know what to do. She went darker. She cut her hair. And then when Sasha came back and they teamed up, everything got reinvigorated. And I think it exceeded anyone's expectations, including management. And they did a great job over the summer of making you believe they were really good friends. Although you saw hints at times of them volunteering one another for the matches and giving each other looks like, okay. Like they were teasing it, and they knew they were teasing it, and we didn't know when it was coming. I thought that they wouldn't do it until they were back in front of fans. And if it was up to WWE, they probably wouldn't have. However, we have no idea when we're getting back in front of fans, and I do not blame WWE for going ahead and pulling the trigger on this. Because you can't wait forever. You can't wait until you're back in front of fans. It could be 6 months, a year, who knows? I mean, maybe less. And we all hope it could be tomorrow. Again, that's up for debate. But this storyline, I think the way that it happened, in terms of the breakup, was sooner than I'd like. I would have strung it along even further. But it happened, and it happened impactfully. They didn't just have Bayley beat her down and then walk away, just kicking and punching. It was the way that she did it with the chair around the neck. That was the key to this whole thing of, this isn't just me turning on you, this is me trying to end your career. And that's what I liked. And Sasha really being heartbroken in the interview this past week. Genuinely seemed heartbroken. It was a great performance by Sasha. And having Bayley attack her from behind again, trying to put her neck in the chair again, it just spoke to, there's no turning back for Bayley. There's that Bayley doesn't have a heart. That Sasha went through and talked about how this is the place they've built, and that they've been hand in hand and all this stuff. That had no effect on Bayley, and she just actually got more infuriated at Sasha and trying to basically break her neck. Yes, so back to what could happen. When does this first match happen? You're right, it could not happen until WrestleMania. However, I thought about that too. It's September 20th. If we don't have WrestleMania, and assumingly it's on time, early April? That's like 7 months, 8 months. I mean, so it's quite a ways away from 7 months, probably, yes, from actually happening, right? Like, it's a long way to go before WrestleMania again for them to have fans hopefully continue to stay interested over the next 6 to 7 months. I would, if this was like December or January, I'd be like, hell yeah, this is happening at WrestleMania. I don't even know if they did the first match at, like, say, Hell in a Cell, which to me is maybe the first time, more likely Survivor Series. To string it even then as, like, maybe their third match to to WrestleMania is tough. To have it their first match where fans go, oh my God, these two haven't even had a match yet. Like, fans are super impatient. Super impatient, and I don't know if WWE would be willing to wait, knowing they have this gem waiting when ratings are tanking. SmackDown had a massive drop this week in ratings.
Did they really?
Yeah, it was not good. So they lost like 400,000 viewers. It was not good. Oh, wow. So I don't think WWE has the patience for it, ratings wise, and just fans have a low attention span given the life we live now. I don't think they're going to wait. I really believe that we'll see some kind of maybe interaction at even Clash of Champions. Sasha will make her presence known. I don't think she'll cost Sasha or cost Bayley the match at I'm getting all these pay-per-views mixed up. At Clash of Champions, I don't think Sasha will cost her the belt. Bayley clearly is going to retain against Nikki Cross. I mean, there's just zero chance of Nikki Cross winning that match. This is Sasha's belt to take. So maybe she'll make her presence felt after the match, maybe try to attack Bayley with a chair, but not quite get her and chase her out of the ring. Something like that. But their first match probably is actually even Hell in a Cell. I mean, I don't know how they string it 2 more months to Survivor Series. I just know WWE's booking, but I'm loving this. I think this is going to go 3, maybe 4 pay-per-views, maybe. But it comes down to fans' attention spans, timing, and ratings. And while we would love to say that we would book it to Mania, we all know that WWE doesn't have the patience to do it, and nor do fans. I don't think. The general fan doesn't.
Yeah, no, and that's why I agree with what you said earlier. I would not have pulled the trigger just yet. I would have held out maybe 2 more months, maybe a month and a half, 2 more months, or had the turn done at Survivor Series, because I can just envision because for me, for just for Sasha's sake, and I feel like she deserves it, I envisioned or could have envisioned her going into WrestleMania as the women's champion, and that storyline going into WrestleMania versus Bayley being, can Sasha successfully retain or defend and retain her title against Bayley, and for the first time ever. Like, I'm pretty sure that'd be the first time ever, right? Like, she hasn't retained it since she's never retained like an actual like singles women's title, has she?
No.
Yeah. So like I just felt like that could have been like another part of the story if you want to extend it, because really, like, unless things change, which obviously I hope they do, but if, worst case they don't, like, they're kind of limited on like actual substance in the women's division right now, unless they do like a shakeup, which I think they will be doing soon, or a draft or whatever we're gonna call it. But I want them to get as much as they can out of it, but not to the point where we're like, okay, like, let's get to it, because I feel like we all, meaning we as the fans and Bayley and Sasha as the performers, we all deserve like this to play out as it should. So yeah, I'm hopeful for this one. I don't feel like they're gonna drop the ball on this one. So I'm excited to see it play out, and I'm happy that I feel like it's kind of like similar to the Roman one in the sense that they're taking care of it, and I feel like they do have an endpoint with this, but I feel like with what you said, it's definitely going to be like a slow burn, maybe just in a different way.
Are you in a position where you need to sell your home? Perhaps you're facing financial difficulties, or you're facing a foreclosure, a divorce, or maybe you're just relocating because of retirement. Maybe there are some other debt issues and you just need to sell your home. Well, here is a great solution for you. And that solution is Bright Realty Investment. They are a leading real estate solutions company, and their mission is to work hand in hand with all parties to handle every situation with the utmost professionalism and care. So if you're in a particularly stressful financial situation right now and you need to protect your credit, then don't waste another minute. Head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com. That's brightrealtyinvestment.com. And when you go to the website, there's a really easy form you fill out. It's right at the top, and they'll get back to you immediately. So why wait? Don't let that divorce, that retirement, or other bad debt situation take control of your life. Take control back and head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com, where they can buy your house, protect your credit, and get your life back on track. Again, head on over to brightrealtyinvestment.com.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
Exactly. This is one that I think fans are. We all know the end result. We all know the end result, but that's okay. This is where people complain about predictability, but this is what you want this to be predictable.
This is what you want, yeah.
Yeah, like, so when fans just put unpredictability over everything, they're doing themselves a disservice, because you want Sasha to win. We all know Sasha's going to eventually take that championship from Bayley, and it's just, how do we get there? So that's WWE's responsibility to fill in the blanks and get us to that destination. So I'm really looking forward to this. Again, timing was, I'm with you. I would have done it probably in a month, 2 months, maybe even longer. I may have strung it to sometime in December at the December pay-per-view. I think it's TLC in December. I might have strung it along that long because I'm willing to make it to Mania to do it. See, if you get to December's kind of a quiet month anyway in WWE. It's kind of like wrapping up. It's the end of the year. You've got the holidays. You kind of like settle in and ease in. January is when things ramp up and it's really starting to become Mania season. So that's what I would have done, but WWE had other plans. And look, I totally would love to see this, and I'm fine with it. It wasn't super too soon, like, oh my God, what are they doing? They just got going.
Right.
It's kind of like, all right, like you were getting to the end of what I would have done, but hey, this is good. I like what they've done. Bayley is on another level right now. She is exactly where I hope she would be as a heel, and even better. So on to another women's division item: Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. Now, Nikki Cross has been like attacked by Alexa Bliss last week. She was attacked, hitting the Sister Abigail on Alexa Bliss, or on Nikki Cross. and smashed her mug that she got her and all these things. And Nikki Cross is like the most forgiving friend in the world after,
She really is.
I mean, she comes out this week on SmackDown and is smiling like, they just came from a picnic in the park. I mean,
Right.
and they're like, hey, what's going on, Lexi? Like, I mean,
Right.
the first thing you say isn't like, hey, what the F happened last week? It's,
Right.
they're talking about something else. Like, it made no sense. It was almost an afterthought from Nikki. That I did not like. That's where they disconnect. Like, why is she smiling? Like, she could have at least been scowling, like, going through the interview, but getting more and more angry as she goes on. Like, so are we going to address the elephant in the room here? But instead, it was almost like, oh, yeah, that thing last week. That made no sense. But,
Right.
so there's that, number one. And number two is Alexa Bliss's new look and descent into, like, some kind of trance. I love it. I think it's breathing new life into Alexa Bliss's character that desperately kind of needed it. And she was more of just kind of this talk show host that was kind of funny at times, but sometimes not. She was just kind of like floating out there, and now she has this defined program that she's kind of in with the Fiend, even though he's not around with her. But whatever the Fiend did to her, he changed her. I like how they're consistent when the Fiend interacts with other characters. Everyone's been changed. And Alexa Bliss kind of going back to her old school pigtails, and anytime anyone mentions the Fiend, she just goes into a trance and just starts dishing out Sister Abigail's. I'm loving that. So I guess two-part thing for you.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you 100% on the whole Nikki Cross thing. Like, I was like, wait, what? You're not even frustrated, like mildly upset, like, and that's where like I wish they just had a little bit more freedom for her to be like, hey, like, I've been texting you, I've been calling you all week, like you said, WTF, like, what happened? Like, just something believable, just like, and so simple, just like, what are you doing? Like, or just show her, like you said, midway through, like, have her, like, giving her, like, a look, but, like, showing frustration, but trying to remain professional, because, of course, that's what Nikki would do, because she's good, like, she's a good girl. Like, she would, of course, want to be, professional and respectful and everything, but, yeah, completely lost me with that one, completely. And just, again, doesn't make her look strong going into her match with Bayley. Like, it's just like, with that, like, that is what we complain about being too predictable. Like, it's just like, we know Bayley's gonna win. It's just like, how is she gonna win type thing. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing, of course. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, at least try to continue to build her up a little bit more going into it. I don't know. I was not a fan of that either. But on the flip side, I love this Alexa Bliss direction. It kind of, for me, my favorite version of Alexa Bliss was when she was the SmackDown Women's Champion. And in that run, I just feel like she really grew and just really held the division. And to me, like, I was really impressed. And I just feel like she just really held her own during that time frame. And I feel like WWE kind of dropped the ball with her after that. So I'm happy to see her get more life and just more attention and just like her own angle. And I hope like she kind of ends whatever she's going to end up doing with Nikki Cross. And I'm curious to see how they integrate her back in with the Fiend, if they even end up doing that. I feel like they have to, right? I feel like they kind of, especially with how obvious she is being, like, for instance, like Daniel Bryan or The Miz, like, The Miz just reverted back to a bad guy, and Daniel Bryan just reverted back to, like, the opposite version of himself. But Alexa is actually adopting, like, different characteristics of the Fiend. She's using Sister Abigail, like, she's integrated with him, whereas they were just affected by him. So I feel like they have to address that and kind of get her connected back to him somehow. But I feel like that's going to be another slow burn, and I'm super excited for that as well. Because I feel like Alexa Bliss has so much potential, and so, like, she's just a good all-around character. She's good in the ring. She's good on the mic. I'll never forget that promo that she did when she won the title, and she was cutting this, what I thought was this heartfelt, emotional speech about how she was so thankful for everyone's support, and how, like, she was just so thankful, and all of a sudden she was like, and just like completely flipped the script and just cut this amazing heel promo on all the fans, and people actually booed her, because, like, they got it. She got us, right? So she just has so much range, more range than a lot of the other, I hate to say it, but a lot of the other female wrestlers do, or that we've seen, at least at this point. So I'm just excited for it. I'm excited to see what they end up doing with her. And to see if she ends up like maybe accompanying the Fiend to the ring, and if he goes into like that full like Joker-esque version, or if his look changes at all, or just what they end up doing. If she ends up like coming out like carrying the hammer, like if they really like try to like kind of rip off the Joker and Harley Quinn, or just put their own spin on it. But it's just another one of those things where it's kind of it's not predictable, but it's kind of like you're pretty sure you have an idea of what they're going to do, but you don't really know how they're going to get there yet.
You don't. And well, first of all, I remember that promo with Alexa Bliss, and it kind of reminded me of the Mark Henry pink salmon suit promo that he did about feigning his retirement. One of the best moments of Mark Henry's career.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So amazing. By the way, if anybody hasn't seen that, just YouTube the Mark Henry retirement speech and look for him in a pink salmon suit. It was just amazing.
Yeah, with John Cena, right?
With John Cena, and he power slammed him. Yep. But yes, Alexa Bliss, I think, has been underutilized for many, many months. Just kind of floating out there, doing her talk show with Nikki, and in and out of the tag team division, won the tag team titles, and then just was kind of there. And she's, I think, capable of much more, and we are seeing it now. And I hope it's not one of these storylines that we've talked about earlier, that they just go, oh, this is going to be great, and then they go, well, where are we going? Well, I don't know, we'll figure it along the way. I mean, it's like, no, that's not how you do it. So I hope there's a destination. I would think that the Fiend is going to reappear at some point, that we get some kind of answer as to how Alexa Bliss is tied into him, why, what's her fascination, do they actually kind of do some evil couple? Like, I mean, he's like the king of hell, she's the queen of hell. I mean, is there some kind of like dark thing they're going to do with Alexa and the Fiend? I mean, I don't know. That would be awesome. I think Alexa Bliss as an evil character that got manipulated and twisted and influenced by the Fiend could be really good. I don't know. I don't know what the end game is, but you mentioned the Fiend. It's like mentioning May 19th to Kane. I mean, he just loses it. It's kind of the same thing, which ironically is the same day that I lost my Twitter account. So whether it's related or not, I don't know. But Alexa Bliss is going to continue this for the foreseeable future, and I'm loving it. Like, I'm intrigued now instead of just going, oh, it's Alexa Bliss. She's good, but they're not doing anything. They are doing something good with her, and I'm loving every second of this right now. And Lacey Evans ends up, by the way, this is a rant that I did on my YouTube channel. By the way, I have one now. They had Nikki Cross. They had Lacey Evans use hand sanitizer in the middle of this match with Nikki Cross. And this was not an ODQ match. They had Lacey Evans use hand sanitizer, just squirting it in the eyes of Nikki Cross. The referee's just going, what are you doing? No disqualification. Nothing. I mean, this is akin to like Tajiri's green slime or Asuka's mist or whatever. I mean, this is, how is that? That's alcohol in your eyes. I mean, right. Like, it would burn. It should be illegal. Even Michael Cole and Corey Graves are like, hey, how is it not a disqualification? And it's true. Like, what the hell is going on? That made no sense. Did you catch that?
Yeah, well, and don't even get me started with that, because like I've just had like there's just been so many issues with referees and just like non-calls or just like weird things happening. Like, and when you were talking about that, I just immediately flashed back to the whole Mickie James incident on Monday Night Raw, because that just infuriated me. Because the second it happened, I'm like, to me, my immediate thought was the referee made a mistake, because Mickey's reaction was like, WTF, like, what are you doing? Like, that, that wasn't the finish type of look. Like, and that could be just me, pure speculation, but that was my take and my reaction to it. And I'm just sitting there like, so that kind of plays into that and my frustration, because like, there's no follow-up. There's no addressing it. There's no reasoning. Like, why is that happening? Like, was it a mistake? Okay, if it's a mistake, cool. Like, address it properly for something that actually makes sense, and just be honest and, just have a reasonable explanation. And the same thing with Lacey Evans. Like, since when can you throw anything in your opponent's face? Like, with the whole mist situation, like for Asuka, for instance, to be able to spray the mist, like she would always, when Kairi Sane was out there, Kairi would try to distract the referee, so the referee couldn't see it, and you would always, when they would go for the pin, they would try to cover their face, so by the time the referee counts to 3 and they win the match, they can't see that their opponent's face has green mist all over, and at that point the match is done. So you go through all of that to cover the miss, but hand sanitizer is okay. Like it just, again, it's not a major thing. It's really not. But at the same token, it's like, it kind of is. Like there's no consistency and it doesn't make sense. Like I don't know. It's frustrating when I guess it shouldn't be, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to expect more, and I just want them. I feel like it's a simple thing, like it doesn't need to happen, or if it does happen, just at least just address it. Have Michael Cole address it. Just be a normal human being. Just be like, what is she doing? Like, that's not allowed. Like, oh, why is the referee not saying anything? Like, just something. Or Corey Graves. If Cole isn't going to be the one, then have Corey be the one who's like the voice of reason, or who calls out the obvious. Like, hey, like for instance, hey, he should be calling out Roman Reigns. Like, hey, is Roman really a bad guy? Like, why is he doing this? Like, I don't know. Some things like that, I just feel like I kind of wish that maybe the commentary had more freedom to just react normally on, and just like how you and I are, for instance, and just address it. Because even if you don't, if it was a mistake or whatever it's supposed to be or it wasn't supposed to be, you can address it for 30 seconds and be done with it. So we have an explanation for it, and you and me, wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. It would be a thing that happened on the show, and it wouldn't even be a topic right now. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh, no, it does. I mean, even I went off on this whole thing with Asuka and Mickie James, and I'm glad you brought it up because it was one of my things on my list here. And I just
it bothered me so much because I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Off really quick, because Mickie James has always been one of my favorite female wrestlers. I think the storyline with her and Trish, and then not the one with her and Lita as well, but the one with her and Trish just really stood out to me so much in their match at WrestleMania 22. WrestleMania 22 is one of my favorite WrestleManias, so I guess maybe I'm a little biased, but their match in particular, like I just feel like was the breakout moment for Mickie James, like her character development, like just the mannerisms and the things that she did. Like I can still see the entire match play out right now because it was just so memorable to me. And and she's a 6-time women's champion. Like it's just weird that how WWE is with certain wrestlers, right? Like it's kind of like I kind of view Mickie as like a Rey Mysterio. Like we all know the accolades of a Rey Mysterio and a Mickie James, and they're surefire Hall of Famer, a legend, all that good stuff. But they don't protect them. They just kind of take them for granted in the moment. But yet 5 years from now, when it's their time to go into Hall of Fame, they're gonna like just hype them up to the fullest extent, and just like Rey Mysterio is gonna be like in a class of his own, which he obviously should be. But it's just weird. It's like you don't covet and take care of them, certain ones right now, and like Mickie James did not deserve that. If it was a mistake, completely fine. Just address it and give her rightful rematch, and don't have her out there looking crazy and trying. And I can only imagine what she's thinking if that wasn't what was supposed to happen, like how she's supposed to react, like professionally, and like because you have to remember, like she's a human being at the end of the day too. It's live TV, like she's like, what happened? That wasn't, it's just you feel for them, right? Because they're kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't, But I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But Mickie James is one of my favorites, so it's the disrespect. I just felt like it was that wouldn't happen to like your average male wrestler. I feel like
it's very possible.
Or if it did, it would be corrected.
No, it would. This, first of all, I mean, starting at the beginning of this, I mean, number one, I would agree with you about Mickie James. Like she has so much to offer. Her craziness. Like everything that Mickie James stood for back at WrestleMania 22 was awesome. The whole Trish Stratus stalking angle, awesome. I remember her even doing a hand gesture that was
right.
very, very controversial.
That's what I was saying. Certain things, like
yeah.
you could.
Which was, I don't even think it's on WWE Network. I'm sure they cut that out, but you can find it on YouTube. If anyone's interested and you're like, what are you talking about? Just do Mickie James WrestleMania 22 like
You'll
hand gesture. It'll be there. But beyond that, I mean, she comes back into WWE. I believe she was as like La Luchadora or something. And they kind of used her with Alexa Bliss, and then she gets kind of lost in the sauce, and she takes kind of on a role that you see her, you don't see her, she's there, she's not. And my point that I wanted to bring up is like, well, what did she do to even deserve this match with Asuka? I mean, yes, her accolades speak for herself. She is going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt. But what did she do in this instance to earn a Raw Women's Championship match? I don't know what she did. Like, am I just going on resume just by her tenure, how long she's been in WWE? Like, that she just has a right to get the women's championship anytime she wants? That was never explained, because a couple of weeks earlier, she was being used in a throwaway match with Natalya, and it was all about Seth Rollins and him calling out Samoa Joe for, is Dominic here? Is Rey Mysterio here? And they weren't even being addressed on air about the match going on. I mean, it was just super disrespectful, and I went off on that about Natalya and Mickie James. Like, what are they even doing here? It was an awful, like, kind of disrespect to both women. And I'm like, all right, that was kind of like, why would they bring Mickie James back for this? And then they have her in a women's championship match. I'm like, well, how does that work? Where's the trail of logic there? Nonetheless, this match happens, and the match was fine. Mickie James can still go. And she was billing it that this was her final championship opportunity, that she feels like this is going to be it for her, and this is her last chance at a championship. And not only does the ending not make sense in terms of Mickie never tapped out that I saw. I mean, people have been telling me, oh, she tapped out. I didn't see a tap out. And the referee just takes it upon himself to end Mickie James's last chance at an opportunity by saying, she can't continue. Well, why? If she can't continue, she'd tap out, and then it's a tap out, and it's a very clear-cut win. Why does the referee get to decide of his own accord that it's Mickie James who can't continue? Based on what? Based on what? That she couldn't get out of the hold? Okay, then tap out. She wasn't passing out. She was conscious. Even the look that Mickie James had on her face, like, what are you doing? Right. Why did you do this? Like, it made no sense. And what makes it even worse is WWE put a statement out after this addressing the confusion regarding Mickie James and Asuka's match. Here's what the quote said. Realizing that this could be her last chance at a championship, Mickie James left it all in the ring against the Empress of Tomorrow. But although Mickie James was ready for Asuka, Asuka was also ready for her. The Raw Women's Champion locked on the Asuka lock, and despite James's best efforts to fight out, the referee ruled her unable to continue and awarded the match to Asuka. Well, what? Based on what?
What does it even mean?
That's what I'm saying. This makes it worse. That makes it even less clear. That's like going back to, and it's giving me really bad flashbacks of a year ago at Hell in a Cell with Seth Rollins and The Fiend, and the referee going, yeah, they can't continue. We're stopping the match. Well, why? I mean, yeah, that's a much more extreme circumstance given they were just killing each other. In this instance, okay, she couldn't get out of a hold. Well, that's what a submission is. Are you just going to do this for every submission that the opponent or the person having the submission applied to them isn't tapping, but they can't get out? So what do? We've seen, again, if like, you're just going to say, well, they can't continue, I'm going to say, if they don't tap, you lose. I mean, like, that doesn't make any sense. If they put on a sleeper hold and they can't get out, they can't continue, are you going to call the match there? This is just so ridiculous in logic. I just don't understand how this is even a thing. If it was an injury, fine. If she passed out, fine. But none of those happened. This was just the referee going, Mickie can't continue. I don't know if this was by design or if this was by accident, but this was awful.
Well, and I think my two main issues with it is because her immediate reaction, like her face just stood out to me so much because my immediate reaction was, wait, what? And then when I saw her face, I was like, did he just make a mistake? And that's what I'm going with, right? That I think the referee made a decision, which is fine. Things happen. That's not a problem. You give her a rematch. You have 3 hours to fill anyway on Raw. Like, you can't tell me you have every minute booked out. Like, you can't give them 10 minutes, 11 minutes. And my second main issue with it, and then we can move on, is why was this her final shot at the title? Like, I feel like I missed something. Like, why? Is she about to leave? Is this her retirement tour? Like, why? Like, I don't understand. Like, did they announce that she's leaving? Like they did with Dean? Like, oh, Dean's leaving on whatever, and this is his goodbye tour type thing? Like they did with the Shield? Like, did I miss something? Like, I don't... For this to be her final match and it ends like her final shot of opportunity, like really? Like, and it's going to end like this, and she's a 6-time champion, but yet in a couple years from now when you want to induct her, you're going to hype her up as one of the best women wrestlers of all time. Yet if we were to go back and watch her final shot at the title, it's going to end in this BS. Like, that's my problem, right? Like, and your statement does nothing but make it worse. Like, that their statement just is even more confusing. Like, that makes no sense. Unable to continue, like, did she quit? Like, did she say I quit? Did she tap out? Like, and if she tapped out, like, I'd like to see the replay footage because I missed that. So again, like, I probably care way too much than the average person, and it's probably not even gonna get addressed on Raw, which is just mind blowing to me. And maybe I'm being too hard on them. Maybe they are gonna address it on Raw. Maybe she is gonna get a rematch and everything's gonna. And I'm not even saying she should win. I'm not in. Like, I agree with you. Like, they shouldn't even have been in this match to begin with because she didn't really win an actual like tournament or a number one contenders match to get there. It was just kind of like out of nowhere. She just came out and kind of said, I want a shot, which whatever. But the fact that you did it and that's the way it played out with someone, because you don't have that many stars in the women's division that you can go back to. So in a couple years from now, when you need 30 women to fill your Royal Rumble, like, you're going to need a big name, and Mickie James is going to be that big name or a big name that you need. So you need to kind of protect her while you still can. So that's just my problem with it. But we can move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, my closing comments on this, because this is something I could rant on for a while. It just was, even if this was by design, bad move. If it's not by design, still bad move. Because they're not, yeah, exactly. And they're not doing that. Their statement made it worse. And it's almost like they have to address it on Monday Night Raw because of how much backlash this has gotten and confusion this has gotten. They almost have to. If they don't, I'm good. I mean, that to me would be even more infuriating. But if they address it and at least there's a statement put out by a referee or some Adam Pearce, who's like the de facto general manager of both Raw and SmackDown now, it's kind of like sneakily happened where he's the authority figure somehow for both. I think that there needs to be something said because of how much this has gotten, how much backlash. So, yeah, I don't know why this is also Mickie James' last time. That's a good point. There was never any decision. Okay, why? Am I just old? Is this just because
like, okay, that's fine if it is, but why?
But has Mickie James not paid attention to anything over her like 15-year career of like, all you have to do is attack the champion, you get an automatic opportunity. I mean, like, that's just the rule of WWE. And at least there's one good thing coming out of this. There's at least one good thing that I can say about this, and it's not the match itself, which I thought was a good match. At least we will have a forever meme of the face that that Mickie James has, and it's in front of me. That will become a meme for something. So we are getting a silver lining on this. This will be turned into something hilarious. So there is that. But I digress. Okay, moving on, and I only have a few more items here. Seth and Dominic continues. Seth, Dominic, and Ray, and now the whole familia is there, and they took their shots at Seth Rollins with the kendo sticks last week, and this week it was a Seth Rollins and Dominic steel cage match, of which I feel like the rant fuel in my body is low about the rules of a steel cage match and why the hell for a structure that is designed to keep the combatants in, that you're allowed to win by escaping it. And having the referee just open the door and you walk out, which is super easy to do, is actually a method of victory, is beyond me. And to me, a cage match should only be a pinfall or submission match. Escaping the cage is either a disqualification or is just, you don't win, right? I mean, like, so it just makes no sense. I'm not a fan at all, never have been, of the escaping the cage to win stipulation. But Seth and Dominic and the whole family here continue to fight with Murphy, who is now completely gone from Seth Rollins' graces. I mean, these two are completely split, and Seth Rollins is back on his own. I hear grumblings from fans, listeners, especially the show, who are like, I'm done with this. I am done with Rey Mysterio and this whole Seth Rollins program. And I keep saying to people, look, it is wearing a little thin. I agree, and now they've brought in the whole family of Rey Mysterio and Dominic. Totally with you. And Dominic on the mic is about as interesting as, like watching paint dry, for lack of a better analogy. I mean, he is extremely robotic on the mic. I said that he feels like he needs a software update. Like, he is just very, very bland. Like, it's like he's really good in the ring, and I think most people would agree that he's better than they thought he would be, and I'm totally in that camp of, like, I thought he would just be able to do a few moves. He's athletic, but he's not really a good wrestler. He's a good wrestler. He's good. And he's athletic, and he's young, and there's a lot of years in front of him. But on the mic, my God, is he just like, you're looking at him like, is there emotion there? He just says everything in the same tone, and I'd rather have this than over the top overacting. So I guess given the extremes, I'd choose the really just kind of like boring Dominic. That is, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Dominic on the mic. It's just like nothing's there. But look, I say to people though, if you can hold out to Hell in a Cell, this is where it ends. Because the cell is designed for programs just like this that have been good and really good at times to end in the cell. It should be Ray versus Seth and maybe even Dominic somehow involved in the cell. That's what the cell's for. And you know, I know that we're not big fans of the cell just kind of being integrated in the pay-per-view schedule every year, that it should be very specific and brought out when needed. But this program, I think, is deserving. So I always tell people, look, if you're tired of this, just wait like another month, and it'll end in the cell. What do you think about everything going on with this angle?
Yeah, I have to agree with a lot of the listeners, and I am over it. I feel like, we've just gotten so many things with this. Like, poor Rey Mysterio, like, he's lost an eye, he's been thrown off a roof, he's had his triceps torn, like, this poor guy, and it's been within, 4 months, 5 months? He just can't catch a break. So, part of me is kind of surprised that it's still going on. I thought, like, prior to SummerSlam, I thought, okay, like, going into it, like, this is, gonna be it, or whatever, or maybe once they get the tag match out of the way, for sure, but I'm with you. I feel like the final blow-off should be Ray versus Seth, I guess, in an actual true one-on-one definitive match. But I kind of think it's going to continue because of the little interaction between Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah, I believe the daughter's name is. Just that little brief just sign of compassion that she gave him on Monday when she was getting into the ring. That was very interesting to me. So I don't know if they're going to proceed with that or in what direction they would go, if she would just be like the good girl into like the bad boy type thing, or if she were to kind of like change him into a good guy. Or if they're just if that was just like a one-time thing and they're just going to be done with it. But yeah, it's interesting to say the least, but I don't think Dominic is horrible. Obviously in the ring, he's much, like you said, he's much better than probably what he should be at his experience, like actual in-ring experience rate. He's done so well, like so many different moves, like that one flip that he did to Murphy on the outside when he did that dive and flipped him into the table. Like, that was just amazing. So it's just, I'm just kind of like, I kind of want Dominic's influence and just like, yeah, influence into the storyline to kind of fade out now and just have it be focused on Seth and Ray and just be done with it. And do whatever we're going to do with Buddy Murphy going forward. And kind of I'm curious to see what happens with Dominic after all this too, regardless of whatever this does end up ending. What happens with him if he ends up staying on Raw, which may be kind of weird. I'd be kind of curious to see like him just in like regular matches. What that would look like on a consistent basis, or if he goes like the NXT route, and kind of like works his way back up that way, or if he just disappears for a while. So I'm curious to see which way they end up going with him. But I think the match that we should end up getting between Seth and Ray is just going to be off the charts, though.
Yeah, it should be. And I think that this is, again, it should be Ray and Seth, where it all started one-on-one. After everything Seth has done, these two need to go at it, and I think Seth needs to come out on top. I mean, I don't see Rey Mysterio needing to win this. Yeah, it's a babyface, but Rey has a lot more days behind him than in front of him. Seth Rollins still has a lot in front of him, a lot more to do. We're still relatively young. I don't see Seth needing to lose this just because to make the fans happy or put a smile on your face. No. I don't. Just because it's a blow-off match, typically a blow-off match would mean the babyface goes over. Like, that's most of the time that happens, and that's what you're looking for. In this case, no, because where does Seth go after this? Like, if he loses to Rey Mysterio straight up and the program's over, well, that just kind of undoes a lot of the good that happened to him in terms of character building. So now that he's gone from Murphy, though, that concerns me that Murphy's going to have a hand in if Seth loses. So we'll have to see. I mean, yeah, the Aaliyah thing, I've heard about a romance angle that possibly happens, or maybe it was just kind of incidental and she did it by accident, going, as a human instinct, checking on him real quick. I don't know. I mean, it could have just been a total accident. But we'll find out on Monday night whether it's an injury angle or a romantic angle or whether it's just completely by accident and they pretend it never happened. So, all right. Moving on, Big E. He's off on his own. He turned somewhat serious this week, which was nice to see that he wasn't dancing around doing gyrations and making terrible inside jokes and everything else. I'm not a big fan of that Big E because he needs to evolve. He needs to move on from that character if he wants to get a successful singles run. Otherwise, he's just that guy from the New Day. Instead, he needs to be Big E Langston, the guy that came from the New Day and made himself a big star. That's the difference. Instead of living on the whole persona that he had inside of the New Day, which was successful, although not my favorite. I was never really a big fan of the New Day, but it was certainly successful from a money perspective, from a TV ratings perspective, from really everything you could expect and more from that group. But Big E this week ends up getting revenge on the security guard that set him up, putting him through a windshield and then putting him in the back of a trunk. And Adam Pearce, who just throws people out of buildings because he can. He threw Drew McIntyre out. He threw Big E out. And now he's hunting down Sheamus. So Sheamus versus Big E seems to be the big first angle for him. How would you, how would you rate it? Are you enjoying the Big E singles run so far? Is it a little underwhelming? What are your thoughts?
I think this week definitely was a big improvement for me. This was my favorite version of Big E that we've gotten since he's been on his own. Just seeing that aggressive side and him just showing that serious side, and just I feel like he finally showed, like, this was like the first time, like, okay, like, yeah, like, this is the Big E that we want, like, this is what we've been wanting and what we know he can do if just given like the chance to just kind of like actually be himself. So I hope we continue, and I hope this was just the start. And I mean, part of me thinks that he will kind of always just come out dancing, I think we may get one or two, entrances when he's serious and just like a serious Big E coming down. But I feel like for whatever reason, like, he's just always going to like dance the ring or like roll to the ring or whatever. But once he gets like the match starts, like he's going to get serious or whatever. But I want him to be serious, and I want them to take him seriously, and because I feel like he deserves it. And now's the perfect opportunity when obviously Xavier and Kofi are out. You might as well push Big E. Like, you really, this is the opportunity to build him as a star. Like, you need more options going forward as well. So it's just now's the opportunity. So I think Friday was a good sign. It was a good start. And I hope that they put Big E over here and they just continue to just take him seriously. And it's kind of weird. I'm kind of surprised with how they're using Sheamus. Not that I'm necessarily against it, but I just kind of felt like, or I expected rather, that they were gonna maybe push Sheamus as like a top heel and like try to go after like a world heavyweight championship, like maybe like against like when Braun was still a face as a champion. But yeah, so I'm kind of surprised with what they're doing with Sheamus. Not that it's even, like I said, a bad thing, but yeah, we'll see how it ends up playing out. But I hope they stick with a more serious side of Big E. And did we ever find out what the E stood for by chance?
I don't know what Big E is. No,
yeah,
I don't. I'm sure there's something that people are thinking inappropriately with E. I don't know. I mean, there's probably some funny things you can come up with. I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody Google it. I don't know. But yeah, the serious side of Big E, I mean, we've heard it. They actually addressed that on air a couple of times. Like, he's hearing that loud and clear. I also understand the logic of being able to just switch from the New Day character of the dancing pancake, big muscle man to serious Big E. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to just instantly switch. So if they're on a story and they're on a trajectory that makes sense to get him to that more serious character that is occasionally, relaxed at times and maybe pulling a little bit from his old Big E character in the New Day, I'm fine. But I don't want this to just be an exception than the rule. Like, I want this week to be more frequent than the silly inside joke Big E. That's not going to get him to where he wants to go and where many people think he could go, which is WWE Champion or Universal Champion. So, yeah, this was a good sign. Again, it's 1 week. It's 1 week that we saw this. However, the Big E singles run's been going on for like 4 or 5 weeks now. So it's encouraging. And I think everyone would be in sync with me saying that and you saying that this is something encouraging from the Big E character development standpoint. Okay, I have a couple more things, but I'll go a little quick here. Raw Underground, I know we mentioned it quickly. I'm not big on it. I'm more down on it than I am with Retribution. Those two angles I think they started the same week. It seemed like a quick ratings grab that when people tune in and they go, oh, that's what it is. Okay, channel change. Like, I mean, I know what they're trying to do, but it was like with Raw Underground, it's not wrestling, it's not MMA. It's like a pro wrestling version of UFC. Bad mix. Like it doesn't do anything for me. Do I want to see Braun Strowman go against one of the bigger guys? I mean, I guess that's the hook. I just don't understand how it's supposed to translate into the actual above ground Raw. I don't know what this is doing for anybody. I mean, other than giving guys that would normally, and girls who normally wouldn't get that opportunity at the above ground Raw, an opportunity at the camera to go in underground and fight like they're in the UFC but don't actually punch each other type of style. I think it's actually more of an exposure of the business than the actual wrestling in the above ground Raw is, because they're supposed to be imitating UFC, just street fighting and a dirty basement fight, but you can see them pulling punches, so it's like, oh, well, this is even worse at times because it's even more of an exposure, like that they're clearly not punching each other. So I don't know what to think of it. And boy, oh boy, I'll just say this. Dolph Ziggler is the most versatile man in the history of WWE, going from a championship opportunity with Drew McIntyre for a couple of pay-per-views. He was speared by Goldberg a few months before that in a match, to Raw Underground, to commentary. I mean, this guy, he's probably cleaning floors, bathrooms. He does it all. This guy's probably putting the ring together. He is just a jack of all trades in WWE. So, I don't know. Any thoughts on Raw Underground?
Well, real quick on Dolph Ziggler, it is not even just limited to WWE, because he actually, I don't know if you know this, but he actually is he used to, pre-pandemic, he does like stand-up comedy as well. I actually saw him. He came to Richmond, Virginia, not too long ago. Well, gosh, probably maybe close to a year ago now. But so he does that, and he's like really involved into politics as well. Like he actually knows what he's talking about. Like it's just like if you follow him on social media, he's just like really, he is such like a versatile guy. Like it's just it's just really mind blowing to see like how, and he's very like he does very well in everything that he does. So. Kudos to him. And I think him on commentary was kind of like a pleasant surprise. I think he's kind of like Jericho in a sense that I could see him like transitioning into that role, like maybe after he's done in the ring.
I enjoyed it. I loved him on commentary. I was like, whoa, he just kind of fits. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't obnoxious. Like he wasn't like screaming or loud or anything like that. He was just like he was still his character, right? But he wasn't like over the top with it. So kind of like a Samoa Joe transition wise. I still think, I would still choose Joe as of right now, obviously on commentary. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with Ziggler. But no, regarding Underground, I completely agree with you there. I'm still trying to remain hopeful on that, though. But again, it's like Retribution. It's like, what's the point? Like, what are we fighting for? They're just going down there to take out their frustrations. Like, what does that mean? Like, so you're frustrated on Raw with your position, or what are you frustrated with? Like, if you're frustrated with your opponent, like, why wouldn't you just go fight I don't know. I want to get it. I think they had like, I can appreciate trying something new and the look and the time that they put into it, and they're sticking with it, and Shane seems to be into it. But again, it's like, why? Like there's at least like have like a tournament or something to just like have you're fighting for something or a chance at something, or I don't know. Like I think it was maybe like a quick idea, but then I was like, what are we doing long term? I want to like it, but I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know.
It's just a show in between the show that doesn't have any real consequences, it feels like. I mean, I know the Hurt Business showed up. I know Braun Strowman showed up, so they're trying to add star power to this to make it feel more important, but ultimately there's no consequences.
Cool little moments, but it's like, okay, like you could have done that above ground.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, like, do it on the real show.
Right.
I don't know what this is.
And where is it? Like, I don't know. Everyone seems to do. And my thing, really quick, like, what's the point of the security guard? Because everyone can go in. Like, you're not going to get denied.
Yeah, like, who are you? Like, who's being denied? That apparently you said this place has no rules. So,
right. I know, why would you be denied?
But it's I guess it's the production. It's the look. It's that big bouncer at the door that only exclusive.
I get it, but like deny someone, right? Like deny someone then. You know. Just one person. Like,
really,
just have like Drake Maverick go up there and try to get in and like deny him or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I thought about that the other night. Like, I was just like, what's the point? Like, everyone gets to go in.
And Braun Strowman even threatened the creator of the Raw Underground, Shane McMahon, right in front of the security guard, right in front of the bouncer. So if you do the worst thing you can possibly think of, so, basically threaten the guy that created the whole thing in front of the guy that's supposed to protect you. Who the hell else is
pays you?
That's a good point. That's funny. Jeez.
Like, I'm gonna protect you because this dude signs my checks. Like, I need him.
And Braun Strowman just basically told him he's gonna knock his teeth down his throat. Or, I mean, whatever he said. And it's like, okay, so like, what again? Yeah, who the hell is he denying? I don't know.
Just one person, please.
No. So Sami Zayn and AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy. Ladder match at Clash of Champions. We got the devastating roll-up finish that has just been absolutely running rampant in WWE. I mean, there's just it's just crazy. Everyone's acquired this finish. And Sami Zayn, first of all, I will say Sami Zayn back. Love it. I have missed Sami Zayn so much. I wish that he would kind of get back with Shinsuke and Cesaro at some point. But Sami Zayn back, love it. I love his hair that's just obnoxiously long. Maybe like, oh, cut it. I mean, I like it because I think it's just so him. AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy, I mean, they're all great competitors. All of them can have really good matches with one another. I expect this match at Clash of Champions to be really entertaining, and I hope Sami Zayn comes out on top. I really do. Like, Sami Zayn to me is a guy that could eventually be Universal Champion if all the stars align. But I don't know. What do you think about this whole triple threat and Sami Zayn still claiming he's the champion?
I agree with you. I've always loved Sami. I think it's obvious, like, all three. It's going to be a great match, first of all. I think that should go without being said. Like, it's going to be, especially with it being a ladder match, like, it's going to be a good, solid, probably crazy spot moment, match with Jeff being involved. But I love Sami. Sami is so great at what he does. I love this version. He reminds me of that crazy homeless guy that you would see on the side of the street or on the corner, like screaming about like the end of the world and like the apocalypse and all this crazy stuff. But he says a lot of things that actually make sense too, So it has you thinking like, well, he's not wrong, like for instance, like he never lost the championship. He didn't, like he never actually lost the title. So like, but at the same token, it's like, well, gosh, like, just shut up. Like, I get it, but like, just stop, and that's his role. Like, that's exactly what he should be doing. And that's spot on, like 100%. That's exactly what we needed on SmackDown. Like, he's just playing his role perfectly. Like, he's not really a chicken, heel right now. Or he hasn't been as much as he was when he was with Shinsuke and Cesaro. So I'm very excited for this match, and it's crazy. Like, Jeff Hardy has always been one of my top favorites, like top 3 easily for sure. Like, I was always like a huge Jeff Hardy fan, but I'm pulling for Sami in this one. Like, I want to see him going around with both titles. I want to hear how crazy it's going to be. Like, I want to hear crazy Sami with being like, all the crazy I could see like circa, like, I forget the year, maybe 2001, 2002, Chris Jericho when he was undisputed champion, just walk around both titles and just being obnoxious with it, but just like putting his own twist on it. I could see him kind of going in that route. But yeah, like I agree with you. I'm just so here for it. And then of course AJ is just going to make it, that much better. So, and with what AJ's been doing with Joseph Parks, like I hope he gets more involved as well. So I'm really enjoying SmackDown lately. And that's a big reason why as well.
Definitely. I mean, Sami Zayn is a guy that many people probably didn't know they missed until they saw him again. I mean, I missed him on a weekly basis. I mean, I kind of knew what I was missing. Like, I wish he was in the IC title picture. I can't wait till he comes back and we get him back. And they
actually did right by him, too.
No, they did. They did. And it's not that they dismissed him. He is doing exactly what I was hoping he would do, coming back and claiming he's still champion, that he never lost. And of course, we all know he's not the rightful champion, only because he was officially stripped by WWE. So whether you actually lost it or not doesn't matter, because you were officially stripped by the company because you're not able to compete. So,
unless you're Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, unless you're above the law like Brock Lesnar, that is exactly right. So I'm glad that he's back. I'm for a long run of Sami Zayn as Intercontinental Champion. As long as Jeff Hardy doesn't pull his powers of alcohol out like he did with the bar fight with Sheamus, of being able to just like resurrect himself. I think that Sami Zayn.
Well, he wants to bring Willow.
Yes. That is yes. That's very true. But
who
I don't
knows how that debuts?
It's true. I mean, Brother Nero, all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that this match is probably the right time to do that, but it's certainly something that I'm sure he'll do before he retires. Sami Zayn, please, I need like a 6-month run with him as champion and just being obnoxious every week. It's just so awesome.
Can you just imagine like an obnoxious Sammy and an obnoxious AJ Styles, both heels with this version of AJ right now? Like, it'd be great. Like, solid promo. Like, for me personally, I just feel like it'd be so entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't even need a match for like 3-4 weeks. I just want to see them going, just bickering back and forth. Have AJ with his dry erase board, just stupid stuff, you know? And for whatever reason with them, it works. Like, I just feel like it would work.
Yeah, no, it would. And I just hope that Sami Zayn doesn't go to oblivion and mention AEW again, and then we never see her and hear from him again. I mean, that I remember.
The electric chair.
The electric chair. That literally was that is the massive turning point of Sami Zayn, was that segment. I mean, I don't know why that's burned in my brain, but
that's so true.
Oh God. So 2 more things quick. Otis carrying the Money in the Bank briefcase and having him be chased by The Miz, and having been chased by Morrison, because apparently the few tag teams that are left have nothing more to do other than chase around Otis, and they're trying to acquire his Money in the Bank contract. And this week Otis got served with papers, and Otis again. Now I think that you're a bigger fan of Otis than I am, and I was a big fan of Otis until Vince McMahon got a hold of him and found comedy in him, and then destroyed the tag team that never really got a chance to get going of Heavy Machinery, put Otis in a tank top 4 sizes too small, and did the whole Mandy Rose thing, which we all were rooting for him for beauty, or the Beast to get beauty. And I was too. But then the comedy just continued, and the Money in the Bank ladder match that happened at the pay-per-view, and him obsessed with food, and just it is the worst of Vince McMahon coming through Otis. So Otis is just kind of like the conduit of being Vince McMahonized, and that's not my favorite. But The Miz and Morrison trying to acquire the Money in the Bank briefcase. Do you think it'll happen? And who gets it if he does happen? And to be honest, does this lawsuit even make sense? You're in the WWE. Since when can you file a lawsuit? I mean, that is written in your contract that you are there to compete. I mean, so that is a whole nother topic, but what do you think about it?
Well, and the whole point of the Money in the Bank contract match going into it is to win the contract. Like, all the participants, like, you like the whole idea in WWE, like you're supposed to sign a contract to go into your matches, right? Like, that's why we sometimes see contract, signings on Raw or SmackDown for matches. So the whole, like, aren't we supposed to know, like, you sign a contract going into a match? So, like, I don't know, like, so technically no, like, he shouldn't be allowed to sue Otis for it. So, and I guess that's supposed to be the point, like, it's The Miz, right? And he's like an A-lister, and he probably just got some lawyer, he just paid someone off or whatever, or it's gonna end up like, oh, the papers were fake anyway, or whatever. I was a fan of Otis, and I still am a fan of Otis, but I've kind of lost a lot of, I don't know if faith is the right word, but I'm just like kind of over it. Like, just because like they haven't really done anything, like, and I guess they're starting to now. And if they're just gonna have him lose it to Miz or Morrison, like, if he's gonna lose the briefcase, like, to all people, like it's gonna be one of them. Like I just feel like if you're the idea going into it is that you no longer want Otis to have the briefcase, then fine, but you're really gonna put it with Miz or Morrison. Like I just feel like there would be better options, and I don't mean that to sound as negative as it does, because obviously they're, especially Morrison they're great athletes, but and Miz, the Miz is the Miz, whatever. But and I could see him carrying around the briefcase, right? Like he promo wise could talk it up, just be that annoying heel, going around and go to cash it in and unsuccessfully cash it in. So I could see that happening. But and even that being something to break up the Miz and Morrison, but. Because obviously, like you said, they really don't seem to be focusing on the tag team division right now, so why not break them up? But I don't know. Like, I'm not a fan of what they're doing right now. It's weird. I thought it was weird that Tucker made it a point to say, no, they're suing you, not us, type thing. That was kind of odd to me. Like, that's not really supportive. Like, and first of all, that's obvious, right? Like, it was made out to Otis. Like, they're not both holding the Money in the Bank contract. So it's just kind of interesting to see Tucker just kind of point that out. And I wonder if like all of these are going to be like little seeds, like to lead to something in the future with them. But I don't know. I just want them to kind of pick a direction with Otis and go with it, have them tease him, like at least trying to cash it in. But and as I say that, I'm just sitting here picturing, like, can you imagine like Otis running out with the briefcase and Roman standing in the ring? Like, really? Like, that visual, just that doesn't even like begin to look right. So I just think they got themselves in some, with this situation now.
They did, and I think that it would be the smartest thing ever to get that briefcase off of him. As much as I
agree, but with Miz and Morrison, like that's what I'm saying, like with all people,
I know.
like.
I'm
have
with
Otis
you.
be injured and the briefcase, like have Miz and Morrison attack him or someone attack him backstage and have the briefcase be up and do a tournament or like a battle royal, whatever.
Or he loses it. I mean, or accidentally eats it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like something anything. But I honestly, it's probably the best thing ever that fans aren't truly there to voice their opinion, because I think Otis at this point would be getting booed. I really
especially
think.
with Mandy no longer there.
Oh yeah, with Mandy gone. And how these trades happen make no sense either. I mean, like, don't even get me started on how the trades just happen. I mean, like, and how AJ Styles was drafted to SmackDown for, I think it was
and
Ziggler.
Bobby Roode, by the way.
Yeah, where the hell's Roode? I mean, like, that is the worst trade of all time if you're managing Monday Night Raw to give away AJ Styles and basically get nothing in return. That's essentially what they got. Nothing. Like, AJ Styles was just given to SmackDown when you look at Raw right now. Yeah, Ziggler is the most versatile guy in the world, but you didn't get anything. Robert Roode's like MIA, right? So I don't know. Yeah, but the Otis thing, I am not a fan of what they've done to him in terms of just downgrading him to a comedy act that loves food, and he's just not the smartest guy in the world, but he has a lot of heart. Come on. Like, I mean, he was more than that before you told me he was what you think he is. So
yeah, and they had potential when they mentioned like his learning disability and his mom. Like when they were humanizing him, they had potential with that specific episode. I remember because I remember seeing that video package. I was like, oh wow, like he's like, of course he's obviously human, right? But like it just humanized him. Like he's not like just this doofus who just talks about like food and stuff. Like, his struggles and like his journey there, like they had the opportunity to like really build his story. And I'm not saying like I would have wanted him to at least like, I wouldn't want him to cash in by now, but like you have it for a year. Yep. Based on the storyline, you can hold that briefcase for a year, so you could have been building him for the year, like if you were serious about him. So I didn't want him to win, but I was okay with him winning if they were going to actually build him up. But now seeing the outcome of it, I'm just like, get it off of him at this point, because you're just ruining him and the briefcase at this point. Because now I just feel like the briefcase is a joke. What's the point?
It's really hurting them, and I guarantee fans will be booing this. I mean, they are so lucky. They're so lucky they're not in front of fans. Yeah. They would tear this apart. Oh, I mean, Otis would be getting booed on a weekly basis because of what they've done. So
imagine if they were in Chicago one night.
Oh my God, yeah, it would be brutal. But all right, last thing is Zelina Vega on her own, finally breaking away from the inexplicable feud of Andrade and Angel Garza, which we got no explanation. This team never got off the ground, which is a damn shame. They've had problems since day one with Austin Theory. He's back in NXT, I believe. I mean, they have they never got going. Everything was a problem. They never really did a whole lot, and Zelina Vega was trying every week to keep them together. She finally says, hey, I'm done with this, and then she's on her own. Are you excited for Zelina Vega being on her own? Are you kind of worried what WWE is going to do with her? What are your thoughts?
I am excited, and I was actually surprised with a lot of the backlash that I saw on social media with having her come out and kind of just like challenge Asuka, because not for nothing, like, to me it didn't seem that unbelievable in my opinion. So if I was in Zelina's position and I was fed up with the boys and I was just like, you know what, y'all, screw y'all, whatever, y'all aren't it, whatever, and I wanted to go out on my own, how else are you gonna do it, right? Like everyone and all of us as fans, we always say, go, if you want something, go for it, right? And like you're always hearing like, I have this idea, I want to do this, I want to be the champion, blah blah blah. But like no one actually, like you never see someone actually go for it, and she actually went for it. Like she went out there, got right in Asuka's face, and pretty much laid out her case. Like she's tired of not taking herself seriously, not putting herself first, and what she said made sense and was believable. And am I saying she should win the championship? No. And does it really make sense for her to be on Asuka's level right now? No. But I respect the fact that she went out there and challenged the champion, because when she ends up losing, like, okay, like, but she went out there and Asuka's gonna get a solid match out of her, and she's not horrible in the ring. She just hasn't had the opportunity to do it because she's been in a manager role, and obviously she's good on the mic, so she can sell pretty much any feud that she's gonna be going into, regardless if it's with Asuka or whoever on the roster. So I'm excited for her to actually be able to do her own thing, and I don't think they needed to necessarily like break the three of them up. And I agree with you. It's such a shame of what they're doing with Andrade and Garza. I just feel like they could have gotten so much out of them as a tag team and as that group, as a faction going forward. But yeah, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what they end up doing with Zelina. I'm happy for her to get her opportunity finally to actually do her own thing in the ring and just to be her own performer and to go from there. And I hope they actually give her an opportunity. Like I said, it's probably for sure that she's gonna lose to Asuka whenever that happens. But when that does happen, I hope that they continue with her going forward and just let her get that experience in the ring. Because, I mean, why not? Like, who else do they have right now? So you might as well start building her up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this whole thing with Zelina Vega, I've been asking for this for a long time, probably a year or more. I see so much in her, and that her best days are going to be when she is carrying that women's championship around her waist, which eventually will happen. Eventually, I don't think, as you said, beating Asuka really makes a whole lot of sense. It's not believable, but I think she's one of the best women on the mic. Probably better than a lot of the men on the mic in terms of believability, cadence, pace, everything. Like, she is all in. You don't see through her work. You really believe that she's like this. Like, that's how good she is. And again, have we ever seen her go toe to toe in a promo with somebody? No, but when she does have her segments, they're delivered well. She just has a great presence. Yeah, she's good looking, but there's way more. And she is, to me, I can't wait until she eventually has that women's championship. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope they take her seriously. And this is not just another person for Asuka to run through, because Asuka's run through everyone else, and we need to have someone new. And I hope that's not what they're doing. And I'm really excited for what the future holds for Zelina Vega. And I just, with the whole thing with Andrade, though, and Angel Garza, I've never understood why we're even supposed to care as fans to begin with, right? Like, why are we, number one, I don't even know what the issue is, and they're two heels, so that makes me care even less. And then they haven't really even been a team for that long. It makes me care even less. Like, this makes no sense that fans are supposed to care about two heels that we haven't really got a chance to know, that work together, that haven't been great together to begin with, care about the program that they're in. It's like three strikes and you're out. So it's a shame, because I like both guys. So hopefully they just go they just go their separate ways, or define one of them as a babyface, which I think Angel Garza, I don't know. I don't even know. But as you said, that's a whole nother conversation. But any final closing thoughts on anything that we've talked about tonight?
No, I think we've kind of covered everything, all the major, storylines, at least for right now. But I'm excited for the next season, I guess, of wrestling. The fall season is approaching and everything. So this is normally like a downtime for WWE, but I'm curious to see how things play out and what happens after the Amway Center and Thunderground and all that. So I'm just curious to see how the next few months play out and how Survivor Series ends up looking, going into Rumble and all that. So I think within the next few weeks, in the next month or two, I think we're going to start seeing maybe some foundation going towards Royal Rumble and all that. So it's just a fun time of year. And I hope, we start seeing some things building going forward.
Absolutely. And it's so crazy. We're already talking about Survivor Series, which is only a couple months away. And I circled this date a number of months ago, maybe a year or two ago, about this being a huge date for WWE because it's going to be the 30th anniversary of the debut of The Undertaker. And that Undertaker is going to be somehow involved, and maybe Bray Wyatt pokes his head in. This Survivor Series, to me, I'm still looking forward to from a lot of different perspectives. So, yeah, I mean, we've got 3 pay-per-views till we get there. Well, 2. No, 3, because we got Clash, Hell in a Cell, and then the Survivor Series. But, yeah, so it's crazy, but we're already, booking a Mania. But that's what we do. I mean, we're already booking a Mania, but that's what wrestling fans do. And I don't think WWE has certainly got even half the card written out. But, Ashley, it has been an absolute blast. I'm so glad that you were able to come back on after it probably was 6 weeks. I mean, there was probably 2 cycles of you not being on the show. And it's been a blast, and I'm really glad you could come on.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. Yeah, I'm finally set up and good to go now, so hopefully it won't be as long next time. But thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. Any shout-outs or any social media you'd like to share with the listeners?
Oh, yeah. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at ASHMANNS.
Very good. Will do. And Ashley, hopefully it's not another 6 weeks before we reconnect. And
sure.
Yeah, no, it won't be. There's no way. We'll be back in a few weeks. And thanks so much. And enjoy your night.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
Take care.